The first signs came quietly, almost imperceptibly. Deep in the observatories of Chile's Atacama Desert, a senior astronomer named Sebastián Rodríguez noticed an anomaly in the cosmic background radiation. What began as a subtle disturbance in his monitoring equipment quickly evolved into something far more significant. Sebastian's fingers trembled as he adjusted the telescope's frequency bands. The readings defied everything he understood about deep space observations. Patterns emerged, geometric, precise and utterly alien. He knew protocol demanded verification, but something in his gut told him this was different. Thousands of miles away, in a nondescript government facility beneath the Colorado mountains, a team of data analysts worked through their standard deep space monitoring routine. Dr. Elizabeth Kaminsky, head of extraterrestrial research, sat hunched over a bank of holographic displays. Her team processed billions of data points every hour, searching for anything out of the ordinary. "Something's not right," she muttered, zooming into a microscopic section of stellar interference. The interference pattern was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Mathematical in its precision, yet completely foreign in its execution. Traditional communication protocols meant nothing. This was something else entirely. A signal so complex that it seemed to dance between meaning and pure abstraction. Meanwhile, in orbit, a network of advanced satellites began to pick up increasingly strange transmissions. The global satellite communication grid, designed to monitor everything from weather patterns to military movements, started to register anomalies that defied standard explanation. At the International Space Station, Commander Michael Hansen noticed the first real sign of something approaching. The station's external sensors began registering energy signatures that shouldn't exist, quantum fluctuations that seemed to bend the very fabric of space-time. He immediately initiated emergency communication protocols, knowing that what he was witnessing was beyond standard operational procedures. Back on Earth, governments began to take notice. The initial reports were fragmented, coming from multiple scientific outposts around the globe. Radio telescopes in Australia, optical observatories in Japan, space monitoring stations in Russia, all began reporting similar unexplained phenomena. Sebastián Rodríguez worked frantically, cross-referencing his data with international research networks. The anomaly was growing, taking shape in ways that challenged fundamental understanding of cosmic mechanics. It wasn't just a signal or an energy disturbance. It was something alive, something thinking. Dr. Kaminsky's team began running advanced, predictive models. Their most powerful artificial intelligence systems worked over time, attempting to decode the incoming data streams. Each model failed, crashed, or produced results so bizarre that they seemed like random noise. "It's not random," Dr. Kaminsky whispered to herself. "It's a language we don't understand yet." The global scientific community began to mobilize. Emergency conferences were called. Military research facilities were placed on high alert. Something was coming. Something that existed beyond the boundaries of human comprehension. Orbital tracking systems started to register massive energy signatures. At the edge of the solar system, they weren't like anything previously documented. No known propulsion system could generate such complex movement patterns. These were not just ships or probes. They were something else entirely. Commander Hansen watched in real time as the first massive object began to take shape against the backdrop of stars. Its geometry defied traditional understanding of spacecraft design. Crystalline structures that seemed to shift and reconfigure themselves. Energy fields that pulsed with an almost organic rhythm. "Prepare for potential first contact," he reported. To Mission Control, his voice steady despite the unprecedented nature of what he was witnessing. On Earth, millions of people went about their daily lives, completely unaware that everything was about to change. The cosmic chess match was about to begin, and humanity was about to be introduced to a reality far beyond its current understanding. The quantum collective had arrived, and they were nothing like anyone had imagined. The first wave hit without warning. Massive crystalline ships materialized in the sky above major cities, their surfaces shifting and reconfiguring like living metal. In New York, the morning traffic came to an abrupt halt as shadows fell across Manhattan. Drivers abandoned their vehicles, necks craned upward in a mixture of terror and wonder. At the Pentagon, emergency protocols activated faster than anyone could have anticipated. General Rebecca Williams stood in the Central Command Center, her eyes locked on the massive holographic display tracking the alien vessels. Each ship was a geometric marvel, defying known principles of aerodynamics and material science. "Confirm. Visual," she barked into her headset. "I want full spectrum analysis now." Satellite feeds began to stream in. The ships weren't just large, they were impossibly large. Each vessel seemed to bend light around its surface, creating a shimmering effect that made precise measurement nearly impossible. Military tracking systems struggled to lock onto their exact coordinates. In Tokyo, the first energy weapon struck with surgical precision. A concentrated beam of pure energy sliced through the city's central district, vaporizing entire city blocks in a matter of seconds. The beam left no debris, no residual heat, just a perfectly clean cut through buildings, infrastructure, and anything else in its path. Simultaneous attacks began across the globe. Moscow, London, Beijing, São Paulo. No major population center was spared. Military bases went dark within minutes. Communication networks collapsed under the precision of the assault. It wasn't just an attack, it was a systematic dismantling of human infrastructure. General Williams watched in horror as defensive systems failed one by one. Missile batteries designed to intercept incoming threats simply stopped working. Advanced radar systems went offline. The Quantum Collective demonstrated a level of technological superiority that made human defenses look like primitive toys. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a leading expert in quantum communication systems, sat in an underground research facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. Her team had been preparing for first contact scenarios for years, but nothing could have prepared them for this level of technological dominance. "They're not just attacking," she said to her colleague, Dr. Marcus Chen. "They're systematically neutralizing our ability to respond." The alien vessels moved with a precision that suggested something beyond mere mechanical navigation. Each movement seemed calculated, almost intelligent. They weren't simply destroying, they were strategically dismantling human civilizations. Core infrastructure. Military communications became a patchwork of desperate, fragmented messages. Soldiers reported weapons malfunctioning, communication systems going dark, entire bases being wiped out in moments. The invasion wasn't just swift, it was absolute. In the first 12 hours, major cities around the world had been reduced to smoking ruins. The Quantum Collective demonstrated no interest in communication, no desire for negotiation. This was pure, calculated elimination. Underground bunkers became humanity's last refuge. Government leaders, scientific experts, and military commanders gathered in reinforced facilities deep beneath the Earth's surface. The world they knew had been erased in less than a day. General Williams studied the invasion patterns. Something didn't add up. The precision, the calculated nature of the attack, it was almost too perfect. Her years of military strategy told her there was more to this invasion than simple destruction. "They're looking for something," she muttered, tracing the attack patterns on her holographic map. The strikes weren't random. They targeted specific infrastructure, communication networks, and research facilities with surgical precision. Dr. Rodriguez's team began analyzing the limited data they had collected. The energy signatures of the alien weapons were unlike anything in human scientific understanding. They seemed to operate on principles that defied current models of physics. As night fell across the devastated planet, humanity found itself in a position it had never experienced before. This wasn't a war. This was a systematic elimination of an entire civilization. The Quantum Collective had arrived with a purpose, and nothing would stand in their way. But beneath the devastation, something was brewing. A spark of resistance, a determination that the invaders could never truly understand. The real fight was just beginning. The underground research facility hummed with a desperate energy. Dr. Maya Chen stood before a wall of holographic displays, her fingers dancing across quantum interface panels. Around her, a team of the world's most brilliant minds worked with, a combination of scientific precision and raw human determination. They had been preparing for decades, not specifically for an alien invasion, but for the moment when human understanding might need to leap beyond its current limitations. Interdisciplinary, research that once seemed like academic curiosity now represented humanity's last hope. "We're not dealing with a conventional threat," Maya spoke, her voice cutting through the ambient noise of computers and emergency communication systems. "This is a paradigm completely outside our previous understanding of warfare or technology." 3DO facility, buried deep within the Colorado mountain range, had been designed as a last resort research center. It brought together experts from every conceivable scientific discipline: quantum physicists, neurobiologists, computer scientists, materials engineers, and communication specialists. Their collective mission now was simple: find a way to resist an enemy that seemed insurmountable. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, a neuroscientist specializing in adaptive cognitive systems, presented his latest findings. Years of research into human brain plasticity suddenly took on a critical importance. "Our nervous system," he explained, "is the most advanced adaptive network we know. The aliens may have superior technology, but we have something they cannot replicate: pure, unpredictable human adaptability." The team worked in shifts, analyzing every scrap of data from the initial invasion: satellite fragments, communication remnants, energy signature recordings. Nothing was too small to investigate. They were searching for a pattern, a weakness, anything that could give humanity a fighting chance. In another section of the facility, a group of computer engineers worked on understanding the alien communication systems. They had recovered fractional data transmissions during the initial attack. Most would have been dismissed as random noise, but this team saw potential. "It's a language," said Elena Martinez, a linguistic expert specializing in computational communication. "But not like any language we've ever seen. It's more like a complex mathematical algorithm that shifts and adapts in real time." The implications were staggering. The Quantum Collective didn't just use technology. Their entire communication system was a living, breathing, adaptive network. Each transmission was both a message and a method of learning, evolving with every interaction. Outside the facility, the world had changed dramatically. Major cities lay in ruins. Surviving populations had been driven underground or into remote areas. Traditional power structures had collapsed. Governments, military chains of command, economic systems, all had been systematically dismantled during the initial invasion. But human resilience was not so easily destroyed. Small resistance groups began to emerge. They were not military units, in the traditional sense, but networks of survivors who shared information, resources, and a growing understanding of their alien invaders. Each group became a node in a rapidly evolving human survival network. Dr. Chen's team made a breakthrough late one night. By analyzing the fractional data from the alien communication systems, they discovered something extraordinary. The Quantum Collective's technological superiority came with a fundamental limitation. They operated on pure logical algorithms. They could predict and respond to known patterns, but true creativity remained beyond their grasp. "Unpredictability is our weapon," Maya told her team. "They can't calculate what they can't understand." The research facility became more than a scientific installation. It was now the beating heart of human resistance. Every discovery, every piece of analyzed data, represented a potential pathway to survival. As dawn broke outside their mountain sanctuary, the team knew they were no longer just scientists. They were humanity's last line of defense. The war for survival had only just begun, and they were determined to prove that human potential was far more powerful than any technological superiority. The Quantum Collective might have destroyed their world, but they had not broken their spirit. Hope was emerging, one calculation at a time. The abandoned shopping mall had become a nerve center of resistance. Makeshift communications equipment filled what was once a food court, with survivors from all walks of life working together in a complex organic network of survival and defiance. Jack Peterson, a former network security specialist, stood at the center of the improvised command center. His team consisted of teenagers, retired engineers, farmers, and urban survivors, each bringing unique skills that the alien invaders could never have anticipated. "We're not fighting their war," Jack explained to a group of new recruits. "We're creating a war they can't understand." The strategy was brilliantly simple and impossibly complex. Traditional military tactics were useless against the quantum collective's advanced technology. Instead, the human resistance developed a fluid, adaptive approach that defied all conventional warfare principles. In the ruins of Silicon Valley, a group of software engineers had discovered a critical vulnerability. The alien communication systems, for all their advanced complexity, relied on a predictable transmission protocol. By creating massive amounts of random digital noise, they could effectively blind the invaders' communication networks. Sarah Kim, a brilliant computer programmer, had developed a series of adaptive algorithms designed to exploit the smallest weaknesses in the alien systems. "They process information like a perfect machine," she explained, "but we're going to introduce chaos into their perfect system." Across the globe, similar resistance cells emerged. In the Amazon rainforest, indigenous communities used their deep knowledge of local terrain to create untrackable guerrilla networks. In the mountains of Afghanistan, surviving military personnel developed unconventional combat techniques that relied on human intuition rather than technological superiority. The resistance discovered that the quantum collective's primary weakness was their inability to process true randomness. Their advanced predictive algorithms worked brilliantly against structured logical systems. But human creativity? That was something entirely different. In Mexico City, a group of street artists and hackers turned urban infrastructure into a massive, living communication network. Graffiti became coded messages. Abandoned billboards transformed into signal relay points. Every piece of urban debris became a potential weapon of information warfare. Jack's team in the shopping mall developed a breakthrough communication system. Using a combination of old radio technologies, internet fragments, and manually operated relay points, they created a communication network that was impossible for the aliens to track or predict. "We're going back to basics," Jack told his team. "No digital footprint, no predictable patterns, pure human ingenuity." Medical researchers made their own discoveries. By studying the limited data from alien weapon systems, they began to understand the invaders' approach to biological systems. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's team worked tirelessly, identifying potential weaknesses in the quantum collective's technological infrastructure. The resistance wasn't just about fighting, it was about survival, adaptation, and understanding. Each small victory was a lesson learned, a piece of intelligence gathered that could be used in their ongoing struggle. In the Australian outback, a group of engineers began modifying existing technologies in ways that defied logical design. Agricultural equipment became defensive tools. Communication devices were rebuilt to create unpredictable signal patterns. Every piece of technology became a potential weapon. Jack received a coded transmission from a resistance cell in Eastern Europe. They had discovered a method to disrupt alien energy weapons by creating localized electromagnetic interference. It wasn't a complete solution, but it was a start. "We're writing the rules of a war they can't predict," Jack told Sarah during a late-night strategy session. "Every time they think they understand us, we'll change the game." The quantum collective had arrived expecting a conventional conflict. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that refused to follow any known rules of engagement. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology. It was the ability to adapt, to think beyond logic, to turn limitation into opportunity. As another day dawned, the resistance continued its quiet, determined fight. They were no longer just survivors. They were the architects of a new kind of warfare, and the aliens had no idea what was coming. The underground research facility buzzed with an electric intensity. Dr. Maya Chen stood before a holographic display, her eyes tracing complex molecular structures that seemed to dance and shift with each passing moment. Months of relentless research had led to this breakthrough, a discovery that could change everything. "We've found it," she announced to her team of exhausted but determined scientists. The critical vulnerability in their environmental systems. The journey to this moment had been grueling. After analyzing countless fragments of data from the initial alien invasion, the research team had slowly pieced together an understanding of the quantum collective's technological infrastructure. What began as seemingly random energy signatures slowly revealed a complex pattern, a pattern with a fundamental flaw. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, the neuroscientist who had previously studied human cognitive adaptability, now focused on the alien technology's biological interfaces. "Their systems are advanced," he explained, "but they rely on a centralized processing network that leaves them vulnerable to systemic disruption. The breakthrough came from an unexpected intersection of disciplines. Climate scientists, quantum physicists, and molecular biologists had been working together, sharing insights that would have been considered impossible just months earlier. The global catastrophe had forced humanity's greatest minds to think beyond traditional boundaries. The key lay in the quantum collective's environmental regulation systems. Their technology, for all its apparent perfection, depended on a delicate balance of energy transfer and thermal regulation. The human team discovered that the aliens' advanced systems had an unexpected weakness. They could not rapidly adapt to sudden, chaotic environmental changes. Sarah Kim, the computer engineer who had previously developed adaptive algorithms, now worked on translating this scientific insight into a practical weapon. "We're not just looking to destroy," she told the team. "We're looking to disrupt their entire systemic approach to survival." Across the global resistance network, the news spread quickly. Coded transmissions, passed through a complex web of communication channels, carried the first hints of a potential counterattack. Small resistance cells began preparing, each group adapting the scientific insights to their local resources and environments. In the ruins of what was once Silicon Valley, engineers began constructing devices designed to create localized environmental instabilities. These weren't traditional weapons, but sophisticated tools meant to exploit the alien technology's fundamental weakness. Dr. Chen's team had discovered that the quantum collective's technological systems operated on a principle of absolute predictability. Their environmental regulation depended on precise calculations that assumed a stable, controlled input. Human creativity would become the ultimate disruptive force. "Think of it like an immune system," Dr. Rodriguez explained during a strategy meeting. "Our goal is to introduce a form of technological infection that their systems cannot quickly process or eliminate." The research facility became a hive of activity. Engineers worked alongside biologists, physicists collaborated with computer scientists. The traditional boundaries between scientific disciplines had dissolved, replaced by a singular focus on survival. Field tests began in carefully controlled environments. Small-scale experiments proved their theories. The devices they created could generate localized environmental disruptions that would cause cascading failures in the alien technological systems. Jack Peterson's resistance network played a crucial role in distributing and implementing these new technologies. Each resistance cell became a potential point of strategic intervention, ready to exploit the newly discovered weakness. As weeks of preparation came to a culmination, the team realized they were doing more than developing a weapon. They were fundamentally challenging the quantum collective's understanding of technological superiority. "They believe in perfect systems," Maya told her team. "We're going to show them the power of imperfection." The first large-scale test would be risky. It would require precise coordination across multiple resistance groups. But for the first time since the invasion began, humanity had something it had been missing: real hope. The turning tide was about to begin, and the quantum collective would never see it coming. Admiral Krelltak studied the human resistance with growing confusion. Their actions defied every predictive model in the quantum collective's advanced computational systems. What should have been a straightforward planetary conquest had become an impossible puzzle. The bridge of the primary invasion vessel hummed with complex energy networks. Holographic displays tracked human activities across the planet, each movement analyzed through layers of sophisticated algorithms. Yet something fundamental remained incomprehensible. They are not responding to logical stimuli, the lead computational analyst reported. The statement hung in the air, a profound admission of uncertainty. Humanity's resistance was more than a military challenge. It represented a fundamental break in the quantum collective's understanding of intelligent species. Every strategic projection failed. Every calculated intervention produced unexpected results. The humans did not fight like any species the collective had encountered before. They did not have superior technology. They did not possess overwhelming physical capabilities. Yet they continued to resist with a persistence that bordered on incomprehensibility. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's research team had uncovered the core of this mystery. Human cognitive systems operated on principles that defied traditional computational understanding. Where most species followed predictable decision-making patterns, humans demonstrated an extraordinary capacity for spontaneous adaptation. Emotion is not a weakness, she had written in her classified research notes. It is a complex computational system that allows for non-linear problem-solving. The resistance movements around the globe demonstrated this principle perfectly. In the Australian outback, a group of survivors used agricultural equipment modified into defensive tools. In the mountains of South America, indigenous communities employed survival techniques that completely avoided technological detection. Communication intercepts revealed something even more perplexing. The humans were not unified by a single leadership structure. They communicated through fragmented, seemingly chaotic networks. Each small group operated with a level of independent initiative that should have made coordinated action impossible. Yet they coordinated perfectly. Admiral Kreltax reviewed historical conquest records. Thousands of planetary invasions had followed. Identical patterns. Initial technological superiority would always overcome resistance. Civilizations would recognize their limitations and submit. Humans were different. Jack Peterson's resistance network exemplified this principle. Communication happened through unpredictable channels. Old radio technologies mixed with fragmented digital networks. Graffiti became coded messages. Abandoned infrastructure transformed into communication relays. The quantum collective had arrived expecting to encounter a conventional civilization. Instead, they found a species that transformed challenges into opportunities faster than any computational model could predict. Scientific analysis revealed a startling truth. Human creativity was not just a cultural trait. It was a fundamental survival mechanism deeply embedded in their cognitive architecture. Where other species would calculate, humans would imagine. Where others would predict, humans would innovate. Computational analysts aboard the invasion vessel worked overtime, attempting to understand this anomaly. Their most advanced predictive models collapsed when applied to human behavior. Traditional invasion strategies became useless. They do not think like a collective, one analyst reported. They think like individuals working toward a collective goal. This was a critical distinction. The quantum collective operated as a unified computational entity. Humans operated as a network of independent, creative agents. Each human became a potential point of unexpected intervention. The invasion was no longer about technological superiority. It had become a profound philosophical confrontation between two fundamentally different approaches to existence. Admiral Kreltax realized something that would change everything. Humanity's greatest strength was not its technology. It was its capacity to transform limitation into opportunity, to see potential where others saw only obstacles. As the resistance continued to evolve, the quantum collective found themselves facing an enemy that rewrote the very rules of conflict. They had discovered something far more dangerous than a military threat. They had discovered the true nature of human potential. The sky above the Colorado mountain range crackled with impossible energy. Massive alien vessels hung suspended, their crystalline surfaces shifting and reconfiguring like living metal. Below, the human resistance prepared for their most critical moment. Dr. Maya Chen stood in the underground research facility, her fingers dancing across quantum interface panels. Months of preparation, Countless sleepless nights, and the collective hope of humanity converged on this single moment. "Initiate Phase 1, she commanded. Across the globe, resistance cells activated simultaneously. It wasn't a traditional military operation. It was a global organic network of human innovation and determination. In the Australian outback, a team of engineers triggered a series of localized environmental disruptions. Sophisticated devices created quantum interference patterns that would target the aliens' most critical systems. Each device was a unique creation, built from repurposed technology and human creativity. Off the coast of Japan, a network of modified fishing vessels began a carefully orchestrated electromagnetic interference operation. Old radio technologies mixed with cutting-edge quantum communication techniques created a communication web that the alien systems could not predict or penetrate. Jack Peterson's resistance network had become something more than a military operation. It was a living, breathing organism of human potential. Each cell operated with independent initiative, yet moved in a coordinated dance that defied traditional understanding of military strategy. The Quantum Collective's primary invasion vessel began to experience inexplicable system failures. Computational networks that had previously functioned with perfect precision now encountered cascading interruptions. It was as if the very fabric of their technological infrastructure was being systematically dismantled. Admiral Krell-Tax watched in growing alarm as predictive models collapsed. The human resistance was not just fighting back. They were rewriting the fundamental rules of conflict. In the mountains of Afghanistan, a group of surviving military personnel used terrain and local knowledge to create untrackable guerrilla networks. Their methods combined ancient survival techniques with cutting-edge technological disruption. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's team had prepared for this moment. Their research into human cognitive systems had revealed a fundamental truth. Human creativity was the ultimate weapon. No computational model could fully predict the spontaneous problem-solving capabilities of the human mind. The first major alien defensive systems began to fail, not through direct confrontation, but through 1,000 small interventions. Each resistance cell attacked a different vulnerability, creating a network of disruption that the Quantum Collective could not comprehend or counter. Sarah Kim's adaptive algorithms worked perfectly. The communication systems she had developed created layers of digital noise that completely overwhelmed the alien tracking technologies. It was information warfare taken to its ultimate expression. In the ruins of what was once Silicon Valley, engineers had transformed abandoned technology into a massive, living communication network. Billboards became signal relay points. Abandoned infrastructure became defensive positions. The confrontation was not about overwhelming force. It was about adaptability, creativity, and the human capacity to transform limitation into opportunity. Admiral Krell-Tax realized too late that this was not a conventional invasion. The humans were not fighting to win a war. They were fighting to survive, to protect their world, to demonstrate a fundamental truth about the nature of intelligence and potential. As the alien systems began to fail, something extraordinary happened. The resistance was not just fighting back. They were evolving, learning, transforming with each moment of conflict. Dr. Maya Chen watched the final stages of the confrontation. The sophisticated devices her team had developed were working perfectly. They were not destroying the alien technology. They were fundamentally challenging its entire operational framework. "We're not just fighting," she said to her team. "We're proving something about the nature of intelligence itself." The sky above the mountain range continued to crackle with energy. But something had changed. The massive alien vessels no longer seemed invincible. They looked vulnerable, almost fragile. The final confrontation was reaching its crescendo, and humanity was about to show the universe exactly what it was capable of. The silence was more profound than any sound that had come before. As the last alien vessel disappeared from Earth's sky, humanity found itself in a moment of collective transformation. The world lay broken, yet undefeated. Dr. Maya Chen stood outside the underground research facility, watching the first rays of sunlight break through the dust-filled atmosphere. The landscape was scarred, but alive with possibility. Survivors emerged from hidden shelters, communities began to reconnect, and the process of rebuilding had already begun. Admiral Kreltax, the lead commander of the Quantum Collective, transmitted a final communication before departing. It was not a message of defeat, but of profound recognition. The transmission, decoded by Dr. Elena Rodriguez's team, revealed something unprecedented in the Collective's galactic history. "We have encountered a species unlike any in our recorded existence," the message read. "Humanity represents a form of intelligence that cannot be quantified, predicted, or defeated through conventional understanding." The global resistance that had formed during the invasion did not simply dissolve. Instead, it transformed. The networks of communication, the collaborative spirit, and the innovative approaches that had been crucial to survival became the foundation of a new form of global organization. Jack Peterson, who had been a key coordinator of resistance efforts, now worked with community leaders worldwide to rebuild. The old systems of governance had been completely dismantled. What emerged was something entirely new, a global network of collaborative problem-solving that transcended traditional political boundaries. Scientific teams from around the world began to study the alien technology left behind. But this was not about reverse engineering or military advantage. It was about understanding, about learning from an encounter that had fundamentally changed human perspective. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez's research into human cognitive systems took on new importance. The confrontation had proven that human creativity was not just a survival mechanism, but a form of intelligence that defied traditional computational models. "We are not defined by our technology," he explained during a global symposium. "We are defined by our capacity to imagine, to adapt, to transform challenges into opportunities." The remnants of the Quantum Collective's technology became a testament to human ingenuity. Engineers and scientists worked together to repurpose alien systems, finding ways to use the advanced technology for humanitarian purposes. Solar collection, systems, communication networks, medical technologies, all were transformed through human creativity. Sarah Kim, the computer engineer who had developed critical communication disruption technologies, now led a global initiative to create more adaptive, resilient technological infrastructures. The lessons learned during the invasion would reshape how humanity approached technology and communication. Cities began to be rebuilt, but not in their previous form. Urban planning now incorporated the lessons of adaptability and resilience. Communities became more interconnected, with distributed systems that could withstand potential future threats. The global perspective had changed fundamentally. The invasion had shown that humanity's greatest strength was not in individual brilliance, but in collective creativity. The barriers between disciplines, between cultures, between nations had been dismantled in the face of a common challenge. Admiral Kreltax's final transmission continued to be studied. It was more than a record of defeat. It was a profound statement of recognition. The Quantum Collective had encountered something entirely new in the universe, a species that could turn limitation into strength, that could find opportunity in the most challenging circumstances. Dr. Maya Chen reflected on the journey. The invasion had not just been a fight for survival, it had been a profound philosophical confrontation about the nature of intelligence, adaptability, and potential. As the first year after the invasion came to a close, humanity looked to the stars with a new understanding. They were not just survivors, they were explorers, innovators, a species capable of transforming the most impossible challenges into opportunities for growth. The universe had tested humanity, and humanity had not just survived, it had revealed its true potential.